It was 7 in the morning when I opened the door to get some fresh air and nearly dropped my coffee. Right there, on the edge of the porch, stood the snow leopard I had seen a week ago. But this time, she wasn't alone. 2 tiny cubs clung to her sides, barely able to stand. One of them limped, its front leg twisted unnaturally. The other trembled from cold and exhaustion. Their mother didn't growl. She didn't retreat. She just looked at me, eyes steady, breathing shallow, body wet from last night's mountain rain. And in that moment, I realized she remembered me. A week earlier, during a brutal storm, I had found her sheltering behind my tool shed. Her ribs were visible. She was soaked to the bone. I didn't know what to do then, but I knew I couldn't ignore her. I had left a piece of raw meat in a bucket of water under the shed awning and kept my distance. The next morning, she was gone. I hadn't expected to see her again, but here she was, and she had brought her babies. I crouched slowly, hands open, not moving toward her. "You remember this place, huh?" I said softly. My voice cracked. She blinked. That was all. I stepped back inside, heart racing, and came back out with the same bucket from last time, filled with water. Then I unwrapped a frozen steak I had planned to grill for lunch. I placed everything a few feet from the porch. The cubs didn't move, but the mother gave me one last look and approached the food. She tore a chunk from the meat and nudged it toward the limping cub. He tried to eat, but whimpered. Something was wrong. I could feel the tension crawling up my spine. I knew that if I didn't do something soon, one of them might not make it. I didn't have the skills of a vet, but I had a gut feeling, and it screamed that these animals didn't just need shelter anymore. They needed help. I knew I couldn't leave it like this. I called Daniel, a retired vet who lived about 40 miles down the mountain. We hadn't talked in months. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Daniel, it's me. I have a situation. A snow leopard. And her cubs. One's injured. Is this a joke? I swear. Come see for yourself. Please. I need 2 hours." Those 2 hours felt like years. I sat by the window, watching the trio. The mother licked the wounded cub, but she looked drained. Her head lowered every few minutes like she could fall asleep standing. I made some hot tea, but didn't touch it. I kept pacing. I checked the supplies I had in the garage: bandages, antiseptic, old towels. I had no clue what might help, but I needed to be ready. By the time Daniel's rusty truck grumbled up the drive, I had moved the cubs into a box with blankets, one at a time, while the mother watched from 10 feet away. I talked the whole time, told her everything I was doing. When I carried the limping cub, she didn't blink. Daniel stepped out, took one look, and his eyes widened. "No one's going to believe this." "Don't care. Just help them." We moved the box inside. He examined the injured cub while I watched the mother through the window. She paced once, then sat. Broken leg. Not fresh. Maybe a few days old. Infection's setting in. He needs antibiotics. I can splint it, but we've got to act fast. "Do it." I held the cub as Daniel worked. It whimpered once, then rested against my chest. I felt its tiny heartbeat against mine. The second cub, still silent, nestled into my lap. Daniel worked with careful hands, wrapping the splint and injecting antibiotics. I noticed how rough his fingers were, yet how gentle his movements became when he touched the cub. Years of experience hadn't dulled his compassion. "You know," he said quietly, not looking up, "we're technically breaking a lot of laws right now." "I know," I replied, "but I'd rather explain myself in court than bury a baby animal." He didn't argue. By nightfall, both were resting in a padded crate by the fire. Their mother never left the porch. I tried to bring her in, but she growled, softly, almost apologetically. So I left the door cracked and laid a thick rug just outside. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the wood, every sigh of the wind made me check on them. In the morning, she was gone. I panicked, ran outside barefoot, heart in my throat. But there, in the soft mud near the pine tree line, were 3 sets of paw prints, hers and the cubs. She had taken them. I stood there in the damp grass, breath short. My mind raced with questions. Had I done too much? Not enough? Would I ever see them again? I didn't hear from them for 5 days. Then, late one afternoon, I heard scratching at the back door. I opened it and found the 2 cubs, stronger now, brighter-eyed. Their mother sat a few feet back, watching. She had brought them again, not out of desperation, not for food, for trust. I brought out a tray of meat, fresh water, and just sat beside them. One of the cubs curled beside my leg. The other jumped at a moth and missed. The mother laid her head down, It became a rhythm. Every few days, they'd come. Sometimes early morning, sometimes before sunset. I never tried to touch the mother. But the cubs played with my shoelaces, chewed my gloves, napped on my porch. They were growing fast. Their fur thickened. Their steps grew stronger. I began to recognize their little personalities. One was curious and bold. The other cautious, always trailing a few feet behind. A month later, I got a call from the wildlife office. A ranger named Carla. "Sir, we've received reports of a snow leopard in your area. We need to ensure public safety." I hesitated. "She has cubs," I said. "She's not a threat." "Still, we're sending a team. Tomorrow." I hung up and sat there for a long time. The next morning, before the sun even rose, I left out a final meal. I didn't wait. I walked into the woods, took a different trail, didn't come back till evening. They were gone. All of them. Only the marks in the dirt and a single cub's fur stuck to the corner of my doormat told me they had been there. 2 weeks passed. One morning, I received a letter. No return address. Just a single printed photo inside. 3 snow leopards, captured by a motion-triggered camera. Strong, healthy, climbing a ridge together. And on the back, written in pencil, "Sometimes the wild remembers." I sat down on the steps of the porch, held that photo like it was the most fragile thing in the world, because I knew what it meant. She had trusted me, and I'd never forget it.